show, Halton Region. I am over the moon. I have Cam Wells with me saying hello there with the beautiful breeze with your curtain in the background. Clearly well read with all those books on that bookshelf. You probably, some of them are guests that you've had on your show and in all of your presentations. Thank you, Halton Region, for tuning right back with his sister lives in Hamilton Region and he supports what's the name of the organization, Halton Region?
I believe it was just the branch of the Mental Health Society.
Mental Health Society.
Admittedly, it's been a couple of years since they've been on, but well, one rule in my work is anyone with a valid story and doing something unique in the disabilities world, they're always welcome.
Always. And your world is huge. I put out one sentence when nominating you for the Canada Hall of Fame. I mean, extraordinary, folks. He's a nominee. So there's going to be interviews with him and you're going to see him in the Global Mail when I believe is announced an awardee. I'm just putting out there that positive vibes in July and August. He'll be right across North America and you'll see the awardees announced. And I'm just believing it. So it's conceived to happen. But one word about this potential nomination and dozens came out of the woodworks to write letters. So are some of these people past guests or like, who are these people that we're pouring out into your world?
Well, a lot of them are people who have really been influenced by the work and who themselves have influenced the work. Like Mike Bradley, the mayor of Sarnia, was one of the biggest supporters. I have him on at least once a year to talk about disability employment matters and an initiative he started province-wide just to get the business community to partner with people with disabilities. Some of the best stories really, they come from just everyday people. Melissa Miner, for example, she's a frequent guest to my show, used to do music lessons for underprivileged youth in Windsor. She herself has two brothers with disabilities, and just the influence she's had on their lives has really spoken to me. She recently got one of them into running, in fact. But really, the support has just been overwhelming and amazing. I mean, yeah, there are some guests, like I've interviewed Henry Winkler, Marley Matlin, guy from the Red Green Show. Truth is, in disability life, we all have that story, that aspect of it that defines us and that we use to define others' lives. So it doesn't have to be the story that's necessarily in the public eye. It's just the story with the most heart.
Yes. And so what would someone like Henry Winkler be doing on your show?
Well, actually, funny story about that. He actually was here in Windsor before I really cemented the work of the show, but the Learning Disabilities Association of Windsor, Essex, who are good friends of mine, they needed someone with a background in writing to do an article and sit down with them for a few minutes, and they were sponsoring this presentation he was giving, so got a photo with him, autographed copy of his book, and possibly the most hilarious interview answer ever. My question to him was, what was your biggest challenge in school? To which he looks at me, he says, everything but lunch.
Nice. I love it. Oh my gosh. And you guys are kindred spirits because you with your answer, what did I study most? And you're like the girl next to me. And then he's everything but lunch. You guys are two peas in a pod.
Really, he's an amazing advocate. I mean, the more people sort of push disability into something relatable, something that we can look at and say, yeah, this person's cool. So what if they have a disability? It doesn't detract from their work. It doesn't detract from the enjoyment of the show or their music. But what I've
and sometimes it doesn't even come up. Like it isn't the relevance. It's the work that's relevant.
What I've come to understand over the years is everybody has something that makes them unique. I mean, disability is just a term we use to create this sort of separation between us and them. Truth is, it's self-imposed. There's really no distinction. no two people look the same way or move or think the same way. And if you start creating what I call the impossible standard, eventually you get a wall nobody gets over. So my best advice, don't start finding reasons to single people out. And inclusion, it's not an afterthought. If you're going to build something, build it accessible. If you're going to reach out to people, reach out to all types of people.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. How do people find you? If they want to see some of your, like ask you for your work for the radio stations or see some past shows or turn into your upcoming shows?
Well, there's a few options on that. The National Campus Community Radio Association has a database archiving a lot of my past shows, including one I'm especially proud of. A woman from a group called Blind Beginnings took 9 visually impaired children up Gross Grind in Vancouver, and that was really very telling to me that you could challenge that. Also, cjam.ca has some of my more recent stuff. They're my primary source of broadcasting. And fun fact about CJAM, my dad was one of the original founders of it.
Ah, that is a fun fact. Is your dad still with us?
Yes.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, he wrote a summary statement a couple of years back about the origins and the inception of the station, and I got the wonderful task of reciting that onto a CD, so now it's sitting with some commercials.
Because you have this sassy radio voice, deep and nice methodical pacing. It's very radio. No wonder you've got radio show.
The irony is, when I studied journalism, I only got a B in radio.
What?
I'll never get that down.
Too much studying that girl beside you.
No, it was a different program. After graduating 4 times, they just looked at me the last time and said, "What, you again?"
And that you should be teaching the course. I want you to know, Cam, I'm not sure if you can see it, but in the chat of the platform we're on, we can see comments. And we've got a Kamal Ahmed who says, totally agree. It's easy to add accessibility to virtual platforms these days. So not sure, I'm probably getting the post a moment later than when you mentioned something, but wanted you to know that that comment was out there. Did you want to reflect anything on that?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of the technology these days really is made to make things as accessible as possible. For my other job, for a disabilities nonprofit, I'm in the process of upgrading the company website, and one of the key points I brought up is there has to be something there just to make it compatible with all text and large print formats. But the thing is, sometimes we get so bogged down in the technological aspects, we overlook the human aspect. I had a story about 2 years ago where a deaf girl studying office administration wanted to do the transcription portion of the course, which is required for all students. Not exactly the most fun part, but we all went through it. But they just arranged a sign language interpreter. It's not a high-tech answer, but it allowed her to do the work, and well, simple as that.
Right? We, often people are, wow, you've got your MBA and you're so smart, and I know you'd be extraordinary with customer service. And I find out later, like, why they didn't hire me. And they're like, oh, but there's lots of typing in the job. So it wasn't really suited for Tracy. And no one had asked at all about my typing speed or my typing capabilities or my typing workarounds. It wasn't a conversation. So sometimes there's a lot of assumptions about what's going to work or what's going to be hard. And in fact, it isn't as hard as we often think, huh?
There are things like Dragon Naturally Speaking that can get around that. But you actually just struck upon something that got me big laughs at a disabilities conference once, and this was one of my most valid points ever, I think. You know those signs that say blind persons crossing?
Yeah.
Ever noticed how not one of them has Braille on it, and they're not within distance anyone could reach?
Yeah.
Put them there for the benefit of the actual person.
Yeah.
Do it in some ways just to make ourselves feel better. Hey, look what we're doing.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what I love about, you and your world is it's nothing about us without us. It's somebody who lives in the field. And it's not just because in grade 4, a long time ago, you had a stroke and got some sensitization to a world that you're pretty high functioning in now. And on the low end of being considered a person with a disability, many would say, oh, he's a paper cut in this world.
That's the thing, though. I mean, everyone has their own unique struggles, and it's really not a competition. It's not a matter of saying, I'm worse off than you, I'm better off than you. It's a matter of pooling our talents. We might not be able to do this, but maybe somebody in our circle can, and maybe we can complement each other's abilities.
Yes. And your subject matter expertise comes from immersing yourself with those subject matter experts. So you're not a consultant because you're someone that has a disability, whatever end of the spectrum. You're a consultant because you've been entrenched in the parasport world and the journalistic world. And so you've come to learn more about multiple disabilities. And I want you to know in the comments, Tara Garrity Ellis. And do you know Tara already?
I don't believe I do.
Well, and I'm so glad you're getting introduced right now because she is also a big accessibility advocate out there and multiple streams. And she's saying exactly to every time you say something. And when you talked about the spectrum and no comparison, Tara wrote boom, BOOM, right? So you're getting a lot of love in the comments out there, and so much love that I'm afraid to pause for a commercial. But would you be so kind? Can you please stay tuned for more of those boom exactly comments that you're sharing with us, and think of some of more funny, enlightening learnings that people have, and your closing thoughts before we say goodbye to everybody on your TV in the Halton region on Kojiko through the Disability Channel with Unstoppable Tracy and Cam Wells. We're going to be right back after these commercials. Please stay tuned.